This is Horror Podcast.
Welcome to This is Horror, a podcast for readers, writers, and creators. I'm Michael David Wilson, and every episode alongside my co-host Bob Pastorella, we chat with the world's best writers about writing, life lessons, creativity, and much more. Today we are chatting to Jacy Morris for the second part of our conversation. And in this one we dig even deeper into his brand new novel, We Like It Cherry. And if you are unfamiliar with Jacy Morris, then he has written several books, including the This Rotten World series, the Enemies of Our Ancestors series, The Drop, Killing the Cult, The Abbey, and The Pied Piper of Hamelin. He is currently working on a new series entitled One Night Stand at the End of the World, and The Abbey was his first book published under his real name. And in addition to all of that, of course, as mentioned before, his latest book is We Like It Cherry, and it is available right now from Tenebrous Press. So we will get on to the conversation with Jacy Morris very shortly, but before that, a quick advert break.
From the host of This Is Horror Podcast comes a dark thriller of obsession, paranoia, and voyeurism. After relocating to a small coastal town, Brian discovers a hole that gazes into his neighbor's bedroom. Every night she dances and he peeps. Same song, same time, same wild and mesmerizing dance. But soon Brian suspects he's not the only one watching, and she's not the only one being watched. Their watching is The Wicker Man meets Body Double with a splash of Suspiria. They're Watching by Michael David Wilson and Bob Pastorella is available from thisishorror.co.uk, Amazon, and wherever good books are sold.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This Is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio.
Okay, with that said, here it is. It is Jacy Morris on This Is Horror. So, talking about working with good presses, how did you come to meet and to work with Tenebrous Press?
Well, let's see. I think I had been sending them novellas that, where they sort of requested the full manuscript, but it was still a rejection. And then we live in the same area. So I saw they were having Danger Slater and Carson Winter were, sitting outside with Matt, and they were going to sell some books sort of down the road from me, like a 5-10 minute drive. So I was just like, hey, I like books. I'll go pick up some books and sort of meet these guys, which was really sort of my first interaction with other writers, because I'm sort of, I've sort of been a shut-in, just doing my own thing. I don't really care about community or anything at that point. So it was just really fun to talk to them about writing. At that point, this was a couple years ago. It wasn't like that long ago. At that point, I was sort of getting into writing short stories because I was trying to do some some writing coaching with some clients, and they're like, well, I want to do this short story thing. And I was like, I couldn't really tell you about short stories. I never wrote them. And so I was sort of figuring out that process and the ins and outs of, well, how the heck do you write a short story? I'm writing novels. I have all the space I can need in the world. And now I've got to kind of sandwich it down into, 10 pages or so. And so we talked there. I think there was another project they were interested in that was going to go there, but another press sort of got to it first. And then, so when I had We Like It Cherry all ready to go, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love this book. I think this will really work for them. I sent it their way, and I just made sure it was just to them because I wanted to work with them because they're nice people. And it worked out. And so that's where we're at. And we've been doing all the promotion and all the fun stuff of getting a book ready to go. And it's been a wonderful process. So if you can get in with Tenebrous Press, I would do it. They're awesome. And they have a good eye for stuff that's good, which I appreciate. They're not just, taking anything and throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. There's definitely some scrutiny and a definite, what do they call it? They know what they want, so yeah.
Yeah, and to have met Carson Winter and Danger Slater as your kind of introduction to, I suppose, the horror fiction community. What two awesome stand-up guys. I mean, two of my favorites right there. And God, to this day, I'm thinking about Soft Targets by Carson Winter. What a brutal, philosophical, incredible book. And everyone knows how I feel about Danger Slater on This Is Horror. He's the modern day Vonnegut.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, so I think I got Soft Targets and House of Rot from them. So it's two of my favorite books. So it's definitely worth going out.
Yeah, I've met Danger. I've met Matt at Ghoulish Fest a couple of times. I've had Matt on panels that I moderated about the different types of writing, and I like that Matt has a. It doesn't take much to get him wound up. Our philosophies align perfectly, and that's I can. It was. I remember one panel we were on, and I got him wound up about something, and he goes, "Nope, I'm not going to do it." He goes, "You know what? Fuck it, I am." And I'm like, I like this guy so much. He is so cool. And then last year at Ghoulish, Alex was there, so that was kind of like a highlight because you got the team, and just getting to chat with her was like just like wow, just and then the two of them together is you can see how they would work together.
They're such a great team.
Yeah, 100%.
And so with We Like It Cherry, there's a lot that I want to talk about, a lot that I want to say, but I just wanted to begin with ask you what the elevator pitch is. And that'll also give me a sense of what we might and might not say in terms of potential spoilers, because there's a lot that happens in that fourth act is an absolute understatement.
Yeah. My elevator pitch, I mean, it's like, it's a documentary crew going to the Arctic to film a ritual that has never been seen before from a remote tribe that really people don't know a lot about or even care about. And that's kind of the point I get to, right? It's just like up to the ritual. I don't want to spoil anything else beyond the fact that they've gotten there, because it really is, there's some nice surprises there. Well, I guess they're not nice. Depends on what you like.
I think it was delightful as a reader and would be, I mean, how what word do you even use for disastrous as a participant? That's kind of how I feel. And I mean, my journey with the book to begin with, it's almost slow burn with a lot of social commentary, and you're enjoying it. You're enjoying the environment and the discussions, particularly the philosophical discussions. Then there's a turn where it almost shifts. I'd say it does shift genre. It is not a slow burn anymore. Is the most spoiler-free thing I can say. And then the final message is just so beautiful and poignant and poetic. And just when I finish the book, it's like, wow, this is what it was about all along.
Yeah.
God, that's such a general way of putting it, but because you've spoiled so little, but you really take us on a journey, and I think what the book becomes is probably not what you thought the book was initially, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of reviewers have been like, I thought this was going to be like Cannibal Holocaust. And I'm like, I didn't have that in my mind when I was writing or anything. It wasn't, I don't really have anything in mind. I try and do my own thing when I'm writing. And I was like, well, it's not, it's not even close. And that it's funny, the expectations of like the zeitgeist, and then when you get a story that just veers sharply from that, because there is that veer where it's just like, oh, this is becoming something completely different than what I was expecting. And I think that's a key point to the story and why it works. It's not, it's just, I don't like to be predictable, and I think even the things that you would predict, where you're like, oh, this is definitely going to happen, it happens in a way that you wouldn't expect. And that's sort of the key for why I think people will dig it.
Yeah, I know when I was talking to Bob during the reading of it, I was saying this book is not what I expected it to be, but like in a kind of refreshing, oh, okay. As you said, it's kind of even the plot points or the things that it hits upon, it's the delivery system is completely different to any expectations.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me, and I'm gonna kind of use a couple of comps, like a real comp that came to mind. Believe it or not, was Midsummer. Especially considering cultural or ethnic norms that people have, and then a real event that happened a couple years ago where there was a missionary who repeatedly tried to go to a island that the tribes people there had repeatedly warned this person, and people in surrounding areas have said, do not go there. And this man was convinced by the word of God that he needed to go there, and they killed him, and because he trespassed on their land. And there was an outcry, and it's like, they're not going to do anything. They can't. It's a totally different country. You just can't go there and do that.
Yeah.
And so I felt that. But this is also a book, without spoiling anything. If you're listening to this and you're on the fence, this is a very visceral book. The words, the language, that it doesn't take you long to get into it, even though Michael said it's a slow burn. It's extremely interesting. And when the tide turns and it becomes a matter of survival, and I could literally feel the ice creeping into my feet. It is tactile. There's not a word. Visceral and tactile, those are the words that come to mind. I probably would have to make up a word to explain how cold I felt reading this book. Not like cold, like cold hearted, but actual cold. I had to get underneath my covers. It is very, very visceral. I never want to visit this area, and I never want to see this tribe. But I love this fucking book. It was so fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely taking advantage of the cold and the descriptions to sort of create that feeling in the reader. Like that was, that's by design. It doesn't work without it, right? Unless you get someone out of their comfort zone and make them feel something with that, the plot, the gore, the things that are happening they don't feel right. So I was very cognizant of making sure that that coldness was in there. It reminds me of I once back in the day I sort of worked with Disney on Ice, and I was in Fargo, North Dakota in the winter, and I went to see this movie called A Simple Plan. I don't know if you ever seen it. Awesome movie, really great movie. Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton. But that movie made me cold as hell, and in a place where I just did not want to be cold. Like the movie theater temperature was fine, but just the visuals and feels of it just froze me. And that's kind of something that I wanted to recreate with We Like It Cherry. Just that feeling of just being miserably cold.
And the only other thing I'll bring up, and it's kind of a humorous thing, is that before I realized what "We Like It Cherry" means, I remember telling Michael that I thought it was an indigenous word, that they were hearing wrong. And so I actually looked up different combinations of the word as phonetics, and I found nothing. And I'm like, oh, it's something deep, and here's the thing, it is, but it's in not the way that I expected. And once I got there, I did not feel let down. I felt exuberant that it actually means something else. And I was just like, this is yes. But I was slightly disappointed that I wasn't right. That was the only disappointment I had. I was like, because it's not. I remember telling Michael, it's not "We Like It Cherry." It's probably like some word like "We Like a Cha" or something like that. And he's like, I know Michael was probably looking at me like, you're crazy, but you might be on something, So, man, it's very, very, very visceral, very visceral.
Well, thank you.
Well, fair play to admitting that, Bob. I was going to keep that between us, but no secrets here. And I mean, I wonder, talking about kind of confusion, and because it's so apropos to the text, I mean, what do you think are some of the wide misconceptions about Indigenous people?
I mean, I suppose the biggest one is like that it's one culture, right? It's just really not. It's like 1,000 different cultures, so many different languages, so many variations of those languages. The portrayals that we get in media for the most part are, certain tribes, and they don't represent all tribes. But that's what we have. Like, we've got the dream catcher culture, which is not a thing for most tribes. I'm a city Indian, right? I'm not, I've been around a horse maybe once in my life and I didn't care for it. I'm not a nature person. I'm just not. When I write and things are in nature, I have to go look stuff up because I'm like, I'm used to buildings and stuff like that. So there's all these sort of mystical, spiritual things that are attributed to us that, some people have, some people don't. I'm not necessarily a spiritual person. I'm more of a, a self-conscious consciousness person, and trying to be the best person for myself and my own happiness. And that's kind of where my spirituality is. So there's a ton of stuff out there. And I like playing with those things, when I can, because I think it's important to sort of break apart those stereotypes. And it's one of the reasons why I chose to make Ezra a gay character, versus originally it was just a dream I had. This whole story was a dream that I had, and it was me and my wife going up there. And I was like, I don't really feel like doing violence to us, so I need a different character. And I was like, and that was my way into it. And I had been reading a friend's book, the White Harbor trilogy by Carlos E. Rivera, and he's a queer author, and he had some characters in there that I was like, I really connect to these characters. I think that for me, not only am I interested in the challenge of can I write gay characters, but also being a person who considers myself an ally, but I don't have a ton of gay characters in my books. It felt important to me to do that, and being an Indigenous author and really understanding that I don't just write for myself as an Indigenous author. I write for Indigenous people, Indigenous, uh, all Indigenous people. I felt like it was important to have that representation in there, and that was definitely one of the stereotypes that I wanted to challenge, right? Um, so that's why the relationship between Ezra and Stu is in the book, and it really became the central theme of the book as well, which was cool.
And what were some of the challenges in writing about a gay couple, a gay protagonist, and what kind of things did you have to kind of put in place to make sure that you got it right?
Well, I had to read and sort of put myself into the space and understanding from other queer authors and sort of understand it from a way that isn't stereotypical, that isn't just me imagining what it's like. It's my built upon my understanding of the people in my life that are gay or queer, and the authors themselves, and sort of putting that together to create my own people, because they're living, in my head they're living, breathing people, and they have a background and they're realistic, and I can predict every little thing about them, and how they're going to react in certain situations. So I had to do that, and then I made sure, when I had it done, I asked people that I trusted you know, that know my heart's in the right place. I asked them to read it and please, let me know if it works or not, and if there's anything I need to change. And they all sort of gave me the thumbs up on it. So that was, I wouldn't say satisfying. I would say I felt good about being able to portray them in a way that felt realistic and not like a straight person writing a gay person.
I mean, Colson Whitehead always says is that you can write about anything that you want to write about, just don't fuck it up. And it's like you have the permission, but people are going to know if you do it from any place other than being authentic and genuine.
And they're going to be pissed off, right?
Exactly.
Because I get the flip side of it. When I read non-Indigenous writers writing Indigenous characters, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna either hate this or like it. And it's a weird game, right? I'm ready to be outraged by it. And so
Yeah.
I know people that understand that I'm a straight author. These are queer characters. They may find themselves in that space, and I just hope for them that I did it justice. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean I noticed in some of my own projects I've actually gone through my characters and have come to the realization, even with like a current work in progress now, that I've got like a whole, it's just white, and it's because that's who I am, and so and I'm going to have to cast against type. I'm going to have to do these things, but I'm also have to do it the right way. And I don't. I've written from like a woman's perspective, um, to write, from that. like a gay person's perspective, I would have to do the exact same thing you did. I'd have to do a ton of research, and I would want to make sure that I got it absolutely fucking right.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, you don't want to mess it up. It's like you're trying to be an ally, not some, stereotype. What do they call that? You know, I
Yeah.
can't think of the word.
Like a kind of caricature.
Yeah, a caricature. Yeah, because that's
And
easy. That's lazy.
yeah,
We all know the stereotypes. You know how to write that, and
Right.
I don't play in caricature for my serious books. Sometimes I'll play with it for my non-serious books, but
I don't know. I like to cast against type. I like to present. I love seeing an image of someone and they're not as we think they are when we first see them. You know, you got the ornery old guy who's walking around, who got a cane and everything like that, and he's spitting tobacco, and you're thinking this is an old country boy, and then he is used to be a philosophy professor,
yeah.
and so that's just one example. I love casting against type. I'm going to give you a visual, and then I'm going to fuck with your head about it, and it's just when you're writing characters that aren't like yourself, there's some care involved if you want to do it, authentically.
Definitely.
now you said that the idea came to you in a dream. We were also talking before about just how unpredictable it is, that it doesn't go where we think it's going to go. So I want to know, how fully formed did this idea in the dream come to you? And how much did you know what was going to happen before you started writing? Had you fully planned the book out, or do you kind of pants it or give yourself some, I suppose, creative license to go in different directions?
Mm-hmm. Well, for the first question, the dream was basically up until the turning point. That's when I woke up, because I was that main character, and that turning point happened to me. Woke up just sweating and like, whoa, what the heck was that? And I rolled over off my bed and I just scribbled down some ideas in a notebook, and it's literally like 3 or 4 lines, and then I went back to bed. But it was fully formed. I was at a writing convention, and someone invited me. They're like, "Oh, you got to come check this out." We went up there. They gave us a place to rest, and then the turning point happened. um, and so from there, I had to sort of build it out, because the dream had weird fantastical elements. Like there were these fantastic mechanical like ice sculptures um, on top of the glacier, and they're just spinning, and they're like weird art installations. And I took a sub to get up underneath the water, and I was like, none of that's going to work. It's too weird. Everyone's going to be like, what the heck are these people doing? It doesn't make any sense. So I had to strip it down to the basics of the opening bits, and then I think I just wrote it. I didn't know where it was going. Usually I'm a pantser in the middle, but I'll have the beginning and the end figured out. But I didn't have the end of this figured out, and I didn't know where it was going or what was going to happen. So luckily I had found my characters and who they were going to be, and I was able to take them through there, and they sort of guide the story, because they're going to do this in this particular situation, and that helps move it through. And then what was the second question?
So, I mean, I wanted to know like how much creative license you had to deviate from the plan, but it sounds like a lot if you know that the middle you're not entirely sure where it's going to go.
Yeah. It would definitely. It's all up to the turning point. Was pretty much the dream. The title was in the dream. Um, when the turning point happened, the guy stuck his face through and said, "We like it cherry," and I was like, "What the heck is?" And so that title was like, it was perfect, and I understood it, but I didn't know what it meant. And so the entire time I'm writing this thing, I'm like, how do I make this title relevant to this thing? And so the ideas that I came up with in the book really had to be created from that title, which those words stuck in my head. I was just like the whole next day, I'm just like, we like it, Jerry. What the heck, dude? What's going on? So I think it worked out. I like it.
Good job you didn't call Bob Pastorella up, or you'd have a
Right?
completely
I know,
different.
yeah, that'd have been a bad idea. It's such an intriguing title, though. It's like it grabs you. When like, especially like when someone says, "Hey, I follow a lot of stuff on social media that has to do with horror," and that's how I got wind of it. And in seeing, I want to say it was Laurel Hightower. I may have been wrong, but somebody singing praises of it before I had even read it, and I was just like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And I was like, "That is," and I'm like, and it sticks in your head because it's just so off the wall. It reminds me of my own writings. Like I'll come up and find, like, digging around and looking for something in my files and my folders on my computer, and come up with a folder that I created months or years ago with some weird name, and it's like, what the fuck does that mean? And there's nothing in it. It's just a folder that I made probably at 3:00 in the morning, doing, I'm gonna write this. It was from a dream or something like that. So it's just a very striking title. It's and I was just sitting there thinking about the book, and it made my feet hurt. So just it's the survival aspects. God.
Yeah.
I want to know if you get a lot of story ideas or the kind of germ of a story idea from dreams. And I also want to know, do you often, when you wake up from a dream, write the ideas down? Because I went through a period of doing that. And when I did, my dream recall got so much better. It's like I was primed to do it. But I feel also there was an increase in dreams to such a point that it was affecting my sleep. So I have to be careful. Probably also my wife would be like, what the bloody hell is he doing? He's writing again. Go to
Yeah.
sleep.
No, I have. For We Like It Chair, that's the only one I've ever written down. There's a couple stories that I had that were dreams that I turned into things. Um, I had a novella, Dude LaRude Sings the Black and Blues, which is about this punk rock guy. And this is all in my dream, but he's basically like a G.G. Allen type punk rocker who gets um, voted in to do like the NBA All-Star game. And he just starts cutting himself up in the middle of the NBA thing. And his name was Dude LaRude. And like, I woke up and I was like, Dude LaRude, what an amazing name. And I couldn't stop thinking of the name. So I wrote that story, and I sort of fleshed it out and made it a little wackier and crazier. And then I think the Abbey was the only other one that was a dream. And that was a weird one. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years between that dream and when I actually wrote it. But yeah, so not a lot. I don't write down my dreams. They just that one stuck with me, and a couple of others just stuck with me. So it's not part of my process. Usually, I don't know where my ideas come from. I'm just walking around making things up. If I go out for a walk, I'll come up with things, or if I'm watching something on TV, I might have like a spark in my brain, and I usually throw it in my notes, which is a terrible thing to do. If I throw it in my notes on my phone, it just goes there to die. And then usually I'll have some idea that I've been tinkering with in the back of my head for a month or two before I ever start writing it.
So I don't know if this will be a game changer for you, but I often write things in my notes on my phone too. And so for a long time, they just got lost. But now I have it all ordered by folder. So then there's actually a chance that, we might actually keep this one, or like it does mean that, the other disadvantage could be if you had so many folders now, it would be redundant. But yeah, that's worked quite well for me, particularly because you could order it by theme, or you could order it by location or subgenre or whatever it is, that kind of means that it won't get lost. So
Yeah.
using folders on your notes app could be a game changer. Because I use notes for everything. If there weren't folders, then story ideas and my shopping list would be in the same section.
I only have like 8 notes. One's like a list of story ideas. One is like when I work out, what are the weights and the times that I do?
I got that one too. Yeah.
One is songs I could sing at karaoke. And then the other ones are just gibberish that I thought up one day, and there's like 3 or 4 of those. So I don't have to search through it. I just click on it, and it's there. But I never think to click on it.
Okay.
I guess I always have an idea going. Those ones they literally just go there to die. I suppose one day I might run out of things to write, and then they'll be useful.
Why do you have a list of songs that you can sing at karaoke? Are you regularly given impromptu karaoke sessions and you kind of panic and you can't think, what can I sing? So you look at that?
Well, I have a very slim taste in music that is like punk and ska. And when I go into a karaoke place, it's like, oh, who wants to sing ABBA? No, I don't know the song. I don't know any of these songs. So I have to have, these are the ones that they have. These are the ones that I could do. I'll get out of my comfort zone on a couple, but there's not a lot for me at a karaoke bar most times.
What's your favorite song to sing at karaoke?
Oh, geez. I kind of like Dirty Old Town by the Pogues.
There you go.
That's just a fun one to sing. It's fun to try and sound like Shane McGowan.
I thought that Bob was going to jump in before I derailed with karaoke, but maybe your thought has now gone.
No, it's my notes list looks like what you said it would be. Michael, it's like bell tied to grave, lettuce, eggs, bread, cheese, ham. It's just, they're 2 separate notes. And then there's like a long paragraph, and I was reading that and I was like, man, that's actually pretty good. And I'm like, that's the story. That's the 20-minute story challenge I did at KillerCon last year. I need to probably work on that, But
so you just found a story in your notes?
Yeah, I just found a whole story that I had in my notes, and I still have that phone. It's just I went from iPhone to Android, and so I need a good notes app now because I just made this move, because all they have is like, I don't know. I'll find one. It's not going to be a big deal.
Check out Evernote.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because that's even their free is like pretty robust. So
there you go. This is Horror giving karaoke karaoke suggestions, note apps. We got it all. And
this will help everyone as a writer.
Right. Yeah. I wonder, talking about planning, as you say, it sounds like fairly loose in that you've got the beginning, you've got the kind of premise, you've got generally the end. With the This Rotten World series, because it is such an epic series, because there are so many moving parts, does that mean that you have to plan out each book in a little bit more detail than you would for, say, a standalone novel?
No. So when you look at the This Rotten World series, there's 11 books, and then 12 is the end of what I call the second cycle. The first cycle was books 1 through 5. I knew the beginning and I knew the ending, and it took me 5 books to do it. The second cycle, I was like, I hope it's 5 books. That would be nice and symmetrical. But I knew the beginning, I know the ending, and it's taken me 7 books to do it. So and for that, the only notes I have is I have a list of characters, their names, and then I put a strike through when I kill them off. And that's really all it is. Because there's so many characters. It's for books that big, there's like, I think the second cycle is about a biker gang, in the zombie apocalypse, and there's like 20 characters. They're always getting new people. Other people are dying, but the story is always moving through. So I have to just know their names and then cross them off when they're dead. I don't want magical resurrections that I have to patch later.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think it's fair to say if we look at your writing output, and perhaps you've said so yourself, I mean, you are a prolific writer. And I wonder if having this looser approach to planning is kind of part of it and part of how you get so much done. That and hard work and discipline, of course.
Yeah, I think it's the discipline's probably number one. It's like sit down, do it. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. But then the lack of planning is my joy in finding the story. Like I enjoy it. Like I get a high off creating and finding new twists and being like, oh, this is going to happen here. Man, that's messed up. Um, and it really is like a drug. So I mean, planning is just not for me. It really is. There's the runner's high, and then I'm getting like a writer's high when I'm just making this stuff up.
Yeah, you're a discovery writer.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I've spent like my entire writing career. I recently just got done with like working on notes and outline, basically in a plan for an epic series that I'm conjuring up in my head. And I've got that sitting on the dresser back here, and I probably won't look at it again because if I go in there and I start tinkering with it, then I'm going to feel like I wrote it, and I wrote it in such a way that it didn't feel like writing. That it's in real short sentences, nothing actual prose like it all. It's just all description. Like they do this, they went here, they did this, and so. Because anytime I start to do something like that and it feels like writing, then I felt like I've written it already. Why would I want to go back and rewrite this again? When I should be thinking I should actually go back and rewrite this again. But it's like it's hard to explain the high that you get when you're a discovery writer and you're out there and your characters take a left turn into the coolest shit that you've ever written in your entire life, and it's just like, fuck yes, let's go. It's hard to explain that. I'm glad that you get it. It's like,
Oh yeah.
you're like my blood brother. Yes. Yeah. Because a lot of people they don't get it at all. I guess they get a high a different way. I don't know.
I've tried planning it, and I'm like, this is like work. This is awful. It's just so far away from my process, and I don't enjoy it at all. Like I hate that. The closest I've ever gotten is like putting stuff on note cards, and even then, it's like what you said. This happens. This happens. This happens. It's not writing. It's just like these are the beats, and I can use those if I want to, and they don't frequently go along with those anyways. Once I start writing,
Right. And so Matt Bell wrote a really good book called I'm forgetting the name of Refuse to Be Done. And what he talks about is that he writes a draft and then he outlines, and then he uses the outline to build his rewrite. And so I kind of like that aspect of it. And so it goes through like 3 drafts. He goes, that's how you get your 3 drafts. You might not need 3, you might need 4, you might need 2, but that's how you get there. He goes, but his writing style is like ours. It's all, it's basically discovery writing, and that is not congruent to plotting well. You're going to have a lot of shit you have to fix, but that's what rewriting's for.
yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned before that you'll get quite a lot of your ideas when you're going for a walk, and that always seems to be the way. If I'm I don't want to use the term blocked because whatever happens, I write. But
Yeah.
if there's something I can't quite figure out, then so often if I just leave the house and go for a walk, all these ideas will come to me. And that seems to be kind of my best tip, really, for people who are looking for ideas. It's like just get out the house, get away from the computer or notepad or whatever it is, and just walk. And these ideas, they come to you, and these solutions. And actually, recently, so I've been working on a collaborative novel with my friend John Crinan, and sometimes we will leave each other just like voice notes talking about a problem and a story. And quite often we'll start talking and we're not entirely sure what it is that we're going to say or suggest. And something within the talking will unlock a solution. So maybe inefficient for the other person listening to the voice note, although we could record a second and be like, right, these are the main bullet points. But in terms of just creatively unlocking things, it's really been a game changer, so much so that I'm wondering if, next time I'm trying to work out a story idea, instead of just going for a walk, as long as I make it obvious that I'm recording and I'm not like the local nutter just walking around talking to himself, it might work to just be recording me talking about the story, even though it's not for an audience, it's literally for me, and to kind of untangle that creative problem.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked out problems before. That works too. Usually I'm just like alone during the day, so the walk works more. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, equally to kind of give strength to that idea, I've found before, like if I've spoken to another writer about the problem, well, by the time I've explained the problem, I've already told them the solution. It's like one of these therapy sessions where you talk and talk and talk. The therapist doesn't say anything, and you're like, "Well, thank you for your time. It's been great."
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just getting out of your own head, right?
Right.
It's terrible in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, a big thematic concern, if we like it, Jerry, and I think again because I'm talking rather vaguely, it isn't a spoiler, but it's this idea between the tribes or the groups that we're born into and then those that we choose. And so, when did you know that that was going to become like a key aspect to this story? And how did you approach writing it?
Well, it. I don't think that it was ever conscious. It was never like a choice to do it. It just sort of came out through the characters. And as I was writing it, it wasn't planned. I knew basically who Stu and Ezra were at the beginning, a little bit about the backgrounds, and I know they loved each other. And I didn't know how that would play in the story. The whole turning point where there's survival and there's choices that are made and there's decisions that these characters have to face. That's all made up on the spot, and so then it's just sort of dragging that out. I've always sort of been able to work my themes in um, without knowing it, almost, um, which is, I don't know. I guess it's sort of a gift, but that wasn't planned. It was just like I got to the end and I was like, how do I tie this? How do I tie that bow on the end of this thing? Um, and is it going to be happy or is it going to be sad? And or is it going to be real? And so I had to figure out that combination of things, and that was hard. The last page of this book was hard, and that's sort of where I I think I didn't write the epilogue until I was done with the second draft, um, and that's that last page. And I had read through it, noticing my own themes, that things that my subconscious had planted in there, which it frequently does. And I was like, oh, okay, let me try and wrap that up here with an epilogue, because it didn't have the epilogue in the first draft. Which, if you ever read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to write to theme. To me, that's like, that's something that stuffy literature writers do. It's like they think of a theme and they build a story around that, and you can tell, you can smell it, and it'll come off as preachy or something like that. I think the only way I can really describe it is that upon subsequent drafts that when you do see the theme, that you kind of tease it out a little bit.
Yeah, you got to drop
And
the breadcrumbs there so everyone else can get along with it.
right, but you don't want to, the opposite of that is shoehorning it in. It's like, oh, well, I forgot to put the theme. Well, golly, let me go ahead and just get it out of the bottle here, and we'll put it in there. It's like, it don't work that way.
Yeah, theme's a weird thing, because it's just like, generally, sometimes it's probably more with short stories, but even then, I don't know where it's going. So I might have a vague idea of what the story's about, but then I don't know how it's going to play out. And it's in subsequent drafts where I strengthen them and make them clearer and smooth them out if they are too preachy, if they are just too in your face.
Yeah, and I think another important aspect which you make fairly clear from the beginning is that, you've got Ezra documenting reality, but he's hiding from his own. And, there are so many questions of honesty and authenticity. And I think kind of when you're looking at these different cultures, like it really just highlights the absurdity and the contradictions within our own culture, within so-called modern, so-called Western kind of society.
Yeah, I think for me, it sort of it's that disconnect and that feeling of just being out of sorts when you go on vacation, or you're in a different culture, and you're just, things are different and it feels different, and you start thinking about, oh, this is how I do it, this is how they're doing it, is their way better or not? And you start questioning and thinking about it. I mean, going to other places and experiencing other cultures, even within America, it doesn't have to be, a completely different country. It could be, if you're from the city, you go to the country and you just get that disconnect. You start understanding and thinking and questioning and philosophizing about what is reality and what are these rules, and are they actually good for me, or are they things I can let go? And I think those feelings that I have about being in a different culture came through those characters, um, in that way. And so I think that really helped me find who they were in sort of a roundabout fashion.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of when you were writing kind of each character, so we've spoken about the plan, the plot. How much did you know about each character? Was that also part of discovery?
Mm, yeah. So I knew general backgrounds. I didn't know there's Scott, the producer, and Jonesy, the sound guy. I didn't know anything about them. They were basically made up on the spot. When I was like, I can't just have two people. It's weird. Um, uh, and in my dream, my best friend was there. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll throw this guy in there. And I need someone that I just kind of will enjoy, maybe killing a bit. And so I threw another guy in there just to sort of pad out the body count, right? Like, I just needed that, or else, because there's some elements of true horror that are associated with those deaths that I wanted to get to. Those scenes, all the bloody scenes were in my head before I started writing. I knew there were those things I was going to sprinkle in there that would just be sort of shocking and gross and pretty brutal. But I didn't know anything about those supporting characters, but I knew the main characters of Stu and Ezra. up to that point. But there are some background scenes in there that were kind of thrown in where I was like, oh, maybe he had this experience and this is a flashback to that. So
Yeah, and we mentioned right at the start of the conversation just how visceral the violence is, and it's really clear that you had fun writing it. And I wonder, what tips do you have, or what are the kind of do's and don'ts for writing this kind of visceral, in your face, no holds barred violence effectively?
my tips for writing the gore scene is to keep it moving. I don't like to do long bits of description. I like to sprinkle it in with action and things happening so that it doesn't feel like, oh, this guy's just getting off on writing gore. That's not genuine to me as a horror writer. Some people do it. There's some very good writers out there who have fun doing it. It's not necessarily my bag, and I find I like my way better. um, so sprinkling in the descriptions with action and then balancing it with the reaction is key, right? Because we're living through the character's eyes. I need to know what they're feeling and thinking as these things are happening, because that's the key into the reader's mind, right? I can describe this thing all you want. You're like, oh, gross. But if you're not getting the emotional part of it, it doesn't really matter, and it just doesn't hit the same. So that it's that balancing act of tight descriptions, action, and the character's reaction. That would be my advice. Balance those things and keep it moving, because no one wants to be bogged down by a page worth of grossness. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, that's the same with. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to be very extremely vague. But someone trying to escape, and the action was kicking. There was not a lot of description of what was happening. There was just enough. The action gave you description, and because you once you have that image in your head, then you realize that this person is doing literally everything they can just to get out, and just to find
Yeah,
a way to get out. And if you could, and you have to, you get to wear their shoes. So yeah, and but there was very little gore in that. It was all action. And so if you're looking, how do I do it? Read this book, because it's a masterclass in how to do it.
thank you.
I think too, I mean, you say there was very little gore, but it's kind of this less is more effect where when you're in the moment, you feel it's gorier than it actually is if you then kind of step back and analyze it. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's the same thing with a lot of Chuck Palahniuk's writing. You trick us into thinking, what we've read is the grossest, most fucked up description, but it's kind of our brain filling it in between the lines.
Yeah, I equate it to like, the when you if you've ever driven down the highway and you've seen something awful, and like how that's burned into your mind. It's not a lot of stuff. It doesn't take a lot to burn something in someone's mind. It just takes key details that stand out, that are weird, that pop out, and that's all it takes to get that sear in someone's mind, I think.
Even using words like pop and sear, even then, just those choice cuts of words, as it were. And for the actual drafting, how many drafts did it go through before you sent it to Tenebrous? And then what did the editorial process with Tenebrous look like?
Well, it was 3 drafts. I typically do 3 drafts. Um, the first one is just creating. Second one is let's fix these plot holes and patch these things up. And then the third one is getting very finely detailed on everything. Um, and then that's it. I did send this one off to an editor who I've worked with before, and because I knew I had something with the story, and I wanted it to get the best footing possible. I don't normally send off my manuscripts to an editor, but this one was like, this one needs it. Anything I can do to make this work is going to be worth it. So I paid her. She did fantastic editing, and then I shot it off to them. And I think by the time they got it, it was really just little stuff. There was no big. It was just, comma here, watch this wording. You keep saying this thing, and that was it. I think there was one note that was like about the epilogue where they were like, we could cut this if we wanted to, and I was like, no, I'm going to keep it. And they were cool with that. It was like, if you ever have a spoiler edition of this show, I'd love to talk about the epilogue. But yeah, it was that. I knew that was always going to be the sticking point too. I knew it was an artistic choice. I'm not really here to hold your hand, and that's how the epilogue works.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how the story would have still worked without the epilogue, but at the same time, I think that the epilogue is the proverbial cherry on top of the story.
Nice.
But I like it better for it, and it made me, that was what really just cemented the themes and really hit things home. And it did it in a way without it being overbearing. So yeah, it almost served as a initial portion of relief, and then just oh my god, a moment of awe as it ended.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And I think that's as near as we can get to mentioning the epilogue without spoiling the whole thing. It's like they did so well, and then around the 2-hour mark, they just spoiled the whole damn story. Well, we're not going to do that, so people need to pick up We Like It, Jerry.
That would be great.
What are you currently working on, and what is next for you?
Well, I think I've got 6 manuscripts. My agent's shopping 2 of them. I just sent one his way, and then he can't keep up with me, so he's given me permission to sort of sell these other 4 on my own. So I'll be taking those around. I'm going to give Tenebrous their shot at it first because they're my favorites and they're awesome, and I love working with those guys. Let's see, what do we got in there? I've also got my 2 series that I'll be working on. So This Rotten World and then One Night Stand at the End of the World. I'll be writing the next chapters in those probably in August. I've got a collection in there of just short stories since I've been trying to make this extra cash for short stories. There's a fair amount of rejections that are just good stories that'll make a nice collection. I think that's 85,000 words. There is a Halloween themed horror story that I've just been slow playing it for years now that I've just had. I thought I wanted to publish it myself. Now I'm thinking I want someone else to publish it. So I'm going to see what I can do with that one. And then there is a sequel to my Dude LaRude story. I enjoyed the character so much and the name gets stuck in my head all the time that I made it the world's first ska horror story. I don't know if you guys listen to ska at all. But I made this, and I'm gonna show it to Tenebrous and see what they think. They are notoriously against ska. Well, not Matt. Alex is. Alex is definitely anti-ska. So I want her to read that just to be a little sicko, and we'll see if they like it. If not, I'll take it somewhere else. And then I've got my first fantasy series that I've written that I'm playing with, which is just very dark and weird and bizarre. and we'll see if they're into that as well, and then we'll take it from there. So lots of things. I've got One Shot is coming out from Torrid Waters in November. Torrid Waters is a Crystal Lake Publishing, and this is sort of my version of a bizarre road trip, Indigenous horror as well, and it's a trip for sure. And so I got a lot going on,
Yeah, it would have been quicker to ask, what have you not got going on? What are the subgenres that you're not writing in? And we'll have to get Alex on the show at some point to ask did she have like a bad experience with a trombone growing up? Is that an early life lesson? Why does she?
She didn't know what it was until just a few months ago. I think she was hanging out here before Ghoulish, and I was talking about the book then, and she's like, "What is ska? I don't know what ska is." And Matt played it for her on the ride home from where we were hanging out, and she did not care for it. I don't know what Matt played. He might have played some awful ska. He might have played some. I'm trying to think of awful ska bands. I'm not going to say awful. I'm not going to ruin those bands' names, but they're out there.
Yeah,
Matt's pretty eclectic in his musical taste. So yeah. And go from ska to blood incantation, and so
definitely.
I mean, blood incantation regularly switch genres from track to track, well, within tracks, so they might throw some ska in on their next album. I wouldn't put it past them. But one of the interesting things you said was you have 6 books at the moment kind of ready to sell. 4 of them you're kind of independently looking to sell. Your agent is taking 2 of them. How did you and your agent decide which of the books he was taking and which you were taking?
Well, it was sort of a point of contention. I was like, I need money. I can sell things. I'm pretty good. I won't get as much as what the agent will get. And so I said, he's not necessarily into some of my more experimental things. He's more into like the horror. He's more into like We Like It Cherry or One Shot, which is just Indigenous horror, right? But I don't always write Indigenous horror. Sometimes I write weirdo stuff, and it's experimental and it's fun and it's wacky. And so I was like, listen, I got to make some money. Would it be okay if I took some of these things and sold them? And he was like, sure. And I was like, here's what I'll do. I'm going to write a query letter for each one of these. I'm going to send you each one of those query letters. You tell me which ones you're interested in selling or working with, and then I'll take the other ones and shop those around. And so that's kind of how it went. Which, I don't think a lot of agents would do it. Like, a lot of them are like, no, you're only going to sell things through me, or nothing at all. But I like working with my agent. He's a cool guy, and I know he's working hard on a couple of these manuscripts that are as equally badass as We Like It Cherry. So
yeah, I mean, I understand the agents obviously wanting to sell things, but I also understand you wanting money quickly, and it's like, well, you can sell all 6 of them if you can sell all 6 of them rather efficiently. And yeah, I can see how your writing, your prolific rate, it's a lot. It's a lot for people to keep up with. And unless he can sell one of your books on a kind of 6-figure deal, or hell, turn it up to 7, then it's going to be a lot harder to, justify having those things essentially just being on your hard drive.
Yeah. And like they take up headspace in the back of my head, and I just need them out and away somewhere. Like, even if I shop them around and no one cares, I'll self-publish them. It doesn't matter to me. I just want them cleared out of my head, because they live until they're published back there. So, and then I can move on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get that. And I wanted to ask about writing We Like It Cherry. So you wrote that, I believe, in 2023. So just as the world had kind of come out of this COVID situation. So, there'd been a lot of isolation and quarantine. So, as that is also particularly the Arctic isolation thematic to We Like It Cherry, do you think writing it in a post-COVID world affected the mentality and the writing?
I don't think so. I felt pretty made whole by the time I was writing it. I felt like the things had gotten back to normal for me in my own personal life, and so it wasn't really a thing. And I try and stay away from the COVID and the consequences in my writing because I think it dates it, and um, it's just it's when a story is good, I want it to be good for a long time, and I don't want it to create that disconnect in the reader's mind. So I'm very cognizant of keeping that specific time period out of my writing because it is so specific. And yeah, it was a nightmare for all of us, but it also, 20 years down the road, it's not going to be a thing for the next generation. Hopefully, we don't know with what they got going on these days in the health department.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I meant purely for your mindset. I wasn't suggesting like Ezra should have said to Stu, oh, this is getting even worse than that time when we
Oh
quarantined
yeah,
for
yeah.
COVID-19.
No, I don't know that my mindset has changed at all. I mean, I'm pretty resilient. I mean, I've been through much worse things than that time period. So that's just a we'll get through this eventually type deal for me um, and my family, which all made it through it, which is great. But yeah, it's a weird time for sure. But I don't think it traumatized me or leaked into my writing at all. I think my writing was probably more of a safe space to just be normal at that time.
All right. Well, I wonder what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self. I don't know. I don't think I would have given any advice to me. I think my 18-year-old self did a pretty good job of living his wacky little life and making his wacky little mistakes and and not going to jail. So I think that's great. That's really all you can ask for at 18. Come on. Um, Writing advice. I don't think that 18-year-old ever would have been able to write anything good. Um, and so I'm glad he got to live. And I guess my advice is just keep living till you feel the urge to write. You know.
That's good advice. And even when you feel the urge to write, don't stop living.
Well, you got to stop sometime.
All right. Well, this has been a tremendous pleasure. So thank you so much for spending the vast majority of your evening chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the book. Um, Let me know when you want to do the spoiler version of We Like It Cherry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We'll really get into it.
Yeah. Well, where can our listeners and viewers connect with you?
I'm on Facebook under my name. If you just search Jacy Morris author, that's probably the one I use most often. Instagram, Twitter. No, I don't use that anymore. Instagram, Blue Sky, and I have my own website where you can find my email if you so wish, where you can bug me about things.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts?
Um, my final thought is I hate the question. Do you have any final thoughts? It just puts me on the spot, and I never have any final thoughts. I'm like, what do you want me to say? I need a compilation of people that have final thoughts, so I can just know what to say at that moment. It really throws me for a loop every time someone asks me. Even in an email, I'm like, no.
There you go. I mean, we said off air at the start of the show that the new format would be the guest actually denigrating and calling out the interviewer, and your final kind of moment is to do exactly that. So that's how we end a conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for listening to another episode of This Is Horror. Join us again next time when we will be chatting with Delilah S. Dawson. But if you would like that and every episode ahead of the crowd, become our patron at patreon.com/thisishorror. It's the best way to support me and to keep the show going. And it is the best way, if you are so inclined, to finally help me escape English teaching in Japan and concentrate full-time on This Is Horror podcast and my fiction writing. But beyond that, and less selfishly of me, you get a load of bonuses, including the ability to submit questions to each and every guest, early bird episodes of each episode, and exclusive podcasts such as Story Unboxed, the horror podcast on the craft of writing, and writing and life lessons with myself and Bob Pastorella. And talking about our focus on writing, I am currently considering, either on the This Is Horror podcast Patreon or the Michael David Wilson Patreon, starting a writers group next year. And I'm not sure if that will be at the paid tier or if that will be at the free tier. So I would advise you to become a patron, even if it is a non-paying patron, a free tier patron, because even though we put things up less frequently, there's still some good stuff. And if this idea of joining a virtual writing group, somewhere where we can share writing, you can critique writing, you can get a bit of support, if that's of interest to you, do feel free to let me know, michael@thisishorror.co.uk, or just message or mention me on social media. Most of the handles are at This Is Horror or at This Is Horror Podcast. And at this stage, I'm just looking for people to register their interest and to gauge how popular a writing group might be. And do feel free to give a little bit of detail in terms of what you would most be looking for from a writing group and how that might be of benefit to you. Okay, before I wrap up, a quick advert break.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This Is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio. From the host of This Is Horror podcast comes a dark thriller of obsession, paranoia, and voyeurism. After relocating to a small coastal town, Brian discovers a hole that gazes into his neighbor's bedroom. Every night she dances and he peeps. Same song, same time, same wild and mesmerizing dance. But soon Brian suspects he's not the only one watching, and she's not the only one being watched. Their watching is The Wicker Man meets Body Double with a splash of Suspiria. They're Watching by Michael David Wilson and Bob Pastorella is available from thisishorror.co.uk, Amazon, and wherever good books are sold.
Now, talking about emails, thank you to everyone who has emailed requesting an audiobook of one of my books. I've had a lot of emails and I'm working through them, so if I haven't answered yours yet, please do watch this space and I will get to it. Though if I do take longer than 10 days, by all means feel free to follow up and send me another message. And for those of you who didn't listen to the outro in the last episode and don't know what I'm talking about, I said that anyone who emailed me, michael@thisishorror.co.uk, and requested an audiobook on one of my releases, they could get one. Simple as that. All you need to do is specify which audiobook you want. So it could be The Girl in the Video, Dare Watching, which I co-wrote with Bob Pastorella, House of Bad Memories, or my dark comedy, Daddy's Boy. And that offer is still open now, so by all means, send me an email, michael@thisishorror.co.uk, let me know the audiobook you want, and I'll sort that out for you. Well, that about does it for another episode of This Is Horror. So join us again next time for my exciting conversation with Delilah S. Dawson. But until then, take care of yourselves, be good to one another, read horror, keep on writing, and have a great, great day.
This is Horror Podcast.